Jun-woo is live streaming a video game when his chat suddenly floods with urgent warnings telling him to run. Thinking it's a prank, he ignores it until an official emergency alert confirms something is wrong. Moments later, chaos erupts outside. People panic, accidents happen, and he witnesses a shocking scene of violent zombie-like attacks, including a child turning on her own mother. Terrified and confused, Jun-woo is interrupted by a sudden knock. When he checks, everything oddly seems calm again, but the moment he opens the door, his neighbor Sang-chol forces his way in, desperately asking to use the bathroom, leaving Jun-woo unsure whether to trust him or not. Jun-woo lets his neighbor Sang-chol in, but after turning on the TV, he learns a virus is turning people into violent, zombie-like creatures that spread through bites. Realizing Sang-chol may be infected, Jun-woo arms himself. His fears are confirmed when Sang-chol suddenly changes and attacks, forcing Jun-woo to push him out and barricade the door. Outside, Jun-woo witnesses an even more terrifying zombie overpowering Sang-chol, leaving him frozen in fear. After securing his apartment, he tries contacting his parents and is relieved to learn they are safe. Following his mother's advice to stay indoors, Jun-woo prepares to survive the night with his limited food supplies. Jun-woo carefully rations his limited food, stretching it from 7 to 9 portions to survive longer. The next day, he sees desperate pleas for help online and tries recording his own, but quickly loses hope when he realizes no one is coming to rescue them. Searching for another way to understand the situation, he uses his drone to scout outside, only to discover that the entire neighborhood is overrun with zombies and no survivors in sight. Overwhelmed and hopeless, he tries to distract himself with a video game, only to be suddenly disconnected, cutting him off even further from the outside world. Jun-woo loses internet access as the zombies begin destroying infrastructure, leaving him even more isolated. Later that night, he's awakened by strange noises and discovers a police officer fighting zombies outside. Despite her bravery, the gunfire attracts more attackers, and she eventually runs out of bullets. Overwhelmed, she's pinned down by the zombies and in desperation considers ending her own life, but hesitates. She's then dragged away into a parking garage filled with even more zombies, while Jun-woo watches helplessly, unable to do anything. Jun-woo tries to save the cop by shouting to distract the zombies, but it's too late, and his noise draws a far more dangerous creature to his door. The massive zombie breaks in, forcing Jun-woo into a desperate struggle to block it out. Realizing the zombies lack intelligence, he risks his life by hanging off his balcony. The creature charges, misses, and falls to its death. Though he survives, Jun-woo is devastated to see the cop has already turned into a zombie. Shaken, he quickly reinforces his door to prepare for what's next. Jun-woo falls into despair, surviving on scraps, drinking, and isolating himself as he slowly loses hope. When his food runs out, a faint voice message from his mom gives him a moment of hope, but he risks his life climbing out for a signal, only to hear his parents being attacked, likely dying. Completely shattered, Jun-woo loses the will to live. Overcome with grief and rage, he opens his door and charges at the zombies, swinging his bat in a desperate outburst. Jun-woo deliberately tries to attract zombies, even stepping outside, believing he's ready to die. But when a massive swarm rushes at him, his survival instincts kick in and he panics, running for his life. Trapped between groups of zombies, he narrowly escapes by hiding behind junk until they pass. Seizing a brief moment of safety, he sprints back to his apartment, slipping past a blind zombie, and manages to get inside and lock the door just in time. The noise Jun-woo made draws zombies to his door, and some even show traces of memory by trying to open it before eventually leaving. Later, believing he has nothing left, he records a final goodbye video and prepares to end his life. At the last moment, a red light from a nearby building catches his attention. Realizing there's another survivor, he stops and looks over to see a girl signaling him, calling him an idiot. Instead of anger, Jun-woo feels a spark of hope and relief, knowing he's no longer alone. Jun-woo excitedly communicates with the survivor across the street, and they agree to talk again the next day. He learns she is Kim, a highly resourceful survivor who has been carefully rationing food and setting traps to defend herself from zombies. After a day without food, Jun-woo is weak, so Kim tries to send him supplies by throwing a string across the buildings, but when that fails due to distance, Jun-woo uses his drone to successfully deliver the connection instead. The exchange works, and he finally receives food from Kim, marking the start of their cooperation. Jun-woo is finally able to eat thanks to Kim's help, but their exchange attracts a zombified firefighter who notices the string. He warns Kim, but as she tries to react, the zombie pulls the line and knocks her unconscious, while also showing unusual intelligence from its past life. The zombie begins climbing toward Kim's apartment. Jun-woo tries to stop it by throwing objects and using his drone, but nothing works and the drone is destroyed. Just as the zombie is about to reach Kim, she wakes up in time. Later that evening, heavy rain begins and both of them collect water using containers, adapting to survive. Kim spots a nearby building's 8th floor that appears free of zombies, giving them a possible survival opportunity. However, as their supplies run out, they realize they must scavenge for food. That night, Jun-woo quietly sneaks into a neighboring apartment using keys from a dead neighbor. He finds canned food, drinks, and walkie-talkies, but while investigating further, he lets his guard down. As he inspects a body too closely, a hidden zombie suddenly attacks him from behind. Jun-woo narrowly escapes a zombie attack by using a corpse as a shield, then flees back to his apartment and safely locks himself in. That night, he finally eats well and shares food with Kim using their improvised rope system. The next morning, Kim thanks him over the walkie-talkie, and their regular conversations begin, giving both of them emotional strength and hope. However, while they are talking one day, they hear what sounds like rain. When Jun-woo checks outside to collect water, he realizes in shock that it isn't rain at all. A sudden surge of zombie activity fills the building, and both Jun-woo and Kim are forced to stay silent as the infected swarm nearby. When Kim accidentally makes noise, the zombies begin closing in on her apartment. As panic builds, Jun-woo quickly comes up with a distraction by calling a neighbor's phone. The ringing diverts the zombies away, saving Kim at the last moment. With their floor now too dangerous and supplies running low, they decide they have no choice but to move to the safer, zombie-free floor Kim had previously discovered. Jun-woo and Kim prepare to relocate to the safer building. Despite Jun-woo wanting to go first, Kim jumps down and immediately gets surrounded by zombies, but she fights her way through. However, she's soon knocked down while trying to grab a handgun. Jun-woo arrives just in time to save her, and together they escape into a stairwell and then an elevator, narrowly avoiding a large zombie breach. They reach the previously scouted 8th floor, which seems safe, and begin searching for a secure room, but their search is interrupted when they encounter a lone zombie in the hallway. Jun-woo and Kim are about to confront a lone zombie, but a massive swarm suddenly floods in from the stairwell, turning the situation into a full emergency. In the chaos, they fight to survive, as Kim searches for escape routes and Jun-woo blocks the zombies. A mysterious man then intervenes, pulling Kim into a room and rescuing Jun-woo with a smoke grenade. He provides them shelter, water, and food, claiming to be another survivor. Though Kim remains suspicious since the floor was supposed to be empty, she cautiously accepts after he proves he's drinking the water safely, suggesting he might be trustworthy. A mysterious survivor offers Jun-woo and Kim food and tells them a rescue team is coming, giving them hope. As they eat, Kim notices inconsistencies in the man's story and surroundings, but before she can act, both Kim and Jun-woo suddenly lose consciousness. When Kim wakes up, she discovers the horrifying truth. The man has been secretly capturing survivors to feed his zombified wife, who was tied up in the back room. Driven by obsession and denial, he has been using other people as food for her, and previous occupants of the building had already met the same fate. The man begins releasing his zombified wife, causing panic. Jun-woo wakes up and tries to stop him at gunpoint, but the situation spirals out of control as the zombie breaks free. A struggle follows, and the man is eventually bitten and attacked by his own wife. Kim survives by briefly protecting herself, and in a moment of mercy and horror, she shoots the man to end his suffering. However, the gunshot attracts a massive horde of zombies into the building. Realizing they are trapped with no escape, Kim and Jun-woo prepare to take their own lives, but are interrupted by a loud rumbling sound outside. Jun-woo and Kim spot a rescue helicopter approaching, restoring their hope. They fight their way through a zombie swarm, using obstacles to delay the horde as they escape to the rooftop. Although the zombies nearly break through, the helicopter arrives in time, opens fire, and rescues them. Meanwhile, communication systems are restored, and other survivors begin sending SOS signals. The story ends on a hopeful note, showing that even in a zombie apocalypse, survival and rescue are still possible as long as people remain alive.